All right. So thank you very much. This then is another episode of The Legends, where we scour across Africa and we want to talk to people who have influenced the way that natural products in particular, or herbal medicine, is researched and maybe commercialized. So I'm really privileged that for the first time we are now kind of in West Africa. And my guest tonight is Dr. Olobayo Kunle, who is with the National Institute for Pharmaceutical Research and Development. As always, you can always follow us on our YouTube channel. So just press the like button and follow us as well. So, Prof, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Yeah. So you say that you trained as a pharmacist 40 years ago, but where did it begin? Where were you born? And, maybe tell us about those early influences.
Yes, I was born about slightly over 60 years ago now in Kano, Nigeria. Interestingly, in Nigeria, that means I was born outside of my native area, because I come from the middle part of Nigeria. And if you were to look at the three major tribes, I'm biologically or genetically Yoruba, as my name will show. But then I was born in Kano. I was born in Kano, which is in the north of Nigeria, in the Hausa-speaking area of the country, in 1962. And since then, I have kind of lived in the north of Nigeria, apart from work taking me to different parts of the country and fortunately to different parts of the world. All of my educational certificate education thing, it's all Nigerian. The Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, one of the earliest universities in Nigeria, was my main institution of learning. And also I started my career there as a university lecturer in the Faculty of Pharmaceutical Sciences of Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria.
Okay, well, that's great. But you say you were born in Kano, which is outside of sort of the Yoruba land, I think, as we have read about it. Is that because your father was living, or your parents were living in that area, working in that area?
Yes, my father was, well, he's still alive. He's a retired public officer. He was a radiographer. And so he was working with a hospital. Interestingly, at that time, he was working within his region. Nigeria at that time had three regions: the northern region, the western region, and the eastern region. My part of Yoruba land fell within the northern region. So actually my dad was working for the northern region, which was his native region, but he was posted to Kano. So that's how he happened to be living in Kano. And that's how that happened.
All right. Yeah. And then what were your early influences, in terms of your career choices, even, the sort of things that you did then, maybe sport, those kind of things? Well, what influenced you?
Well, like I said, now I had mentioned my dad in this situation. He was a hospital man. He was working as a radiographer.
So that was a huge influence.
Yeah, that was a huge influence. So, I mean, the hospital was part of my life. I mean, he would pick me up when I was in primary school, the school run. He would take me to his place of work to wait for him to close. So I'd always the sights and smells of a hospital had been part of my life. And at
Yeah,
a
yeah.
point, at some point when I was in secondary school, we're actually living within the hospital premises. So, but I'm unable to say now that I knew at that time that I was going to work in the hospital. It probably
Yes.
would be nice to say so, but that's not it. Of course, as kids, you in the earlier part of secondary education, you are exposed to the arts and then to the sciences. And actually, I could do well in either.
Yes.
I'm the kind of person who, if I work hard on something, I will get to
You
understand
would get it.
it. But then I also grew up doing a lot of reading. So instinctively, I would be more of a literary person, doing more of writing. So I was doing well in the arts. But then smart guys were supposed to do science.
Yeah, that's the thing. But so do you still write? I mean, have you written? Have you published? Do you still write? It's a hobby to distress.
That the hobby kind of took the back seats as I progressed in my career, and the writing became more serious writing for publications. But when we had the COVID shutdown, I went back to do some writing for newspapers, a bit of trying to popularize the kind of science we do. I put it straight in the newspaper. I tried to turn, and I was happy I did that. And the people around me felt, oh, you should please go back to this writing thing. But I guess I'm still too lazy to get back to it.
Okay, too busy now. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So then you get into pharmacy, and then you discover the world of natural products, right? Herbal medicines.
Yes.
How did that happen?
Yes. I wish I could tell the kind of stories that I hear some of our colleagues who are experts in herbal medicine tell. Oh, I used it as a child and I wanted to see what it was, and on that way. But that's not how I came into herbal medicines. I studied pharmacy, standard things you learn in pharmacy, but I went into pharmaceutical technology, which is drug manufacture. And then the turning point was joining the National Institute for Pharmaceutical Research and Development. Professor Wambebe, who was my dean as a staff of the Faculty of Pharmacy in Zaria, was the pioneer director general of the National Institute for Pharmaceutical Research and Development. And so he invited me to join him. So it was on joining that institute that we realized first that we had a head start. We had an advantage as a country, as a people, if we concentrated on developing our herbal medicines. Because research in the synthetic conventional medicine was expensive. The Western world had made a head start. So we knew if we wanted to make impact and help our people, we had to concentrate on herbal medicines. That was the philosophy that drew me into herbal medicines. And then I happened to be among a very special group in that institute who were the first set, who were involved in development of a drug. So that process got us very excited. I mean, you are making this. So I gradually found myself enjoying it and tuning my career in that direction. So it was not, quite honestly, I cannot say that it was a deliberate decision. It was something that happened to me and I enjoyed doing it, and then I grew within that system.
Okay. No, so that's interesting. And I think we'll get to the issue of Niprasan a little bit, maybe in the second part of this interview. But your focus is also interesting when I look at your CV, that you were particularly interested in inactive pharmaceutical ingredients. So which is kind of unique because people who go into natural products are chasing, the silver bullet, the active compounds, but you kind of went the other way. Why did you go that way?
As young researchers, there's this mixture between science and do I say patriotism? Or you're just looking at it and saying, why are we not using the things we have here in drug manufacture?
Yes.
The one thing that I could understand, you could synthesize their actives. But then we had these very cheap materials all over that could be used as non-actives, starch, cellulose. I mean, we feed on these things as Africans. That's what we eat. That's what we
throw them away.
And we throw a lot of waste away.
Yes.
So the question is, it was just embarrassing to find out, for example, that to make tablets, you were importing maize starch. And you are walking home from work and you can see corn cobs thrown away. They're a nuisance. You're going to get home and eat some maize-based food. And yet you've just been told that it was imported to make tablets. So you're asking yourself, what does it take for this maize I see to be used in making tablets? And that took me to working on these excipients, cheap, easy, widely available. You did not need to prove that they were safe. We were eating them. So that was what took me that way. And then it was now a short step into looking at other plant-based things. And that took me into herbal medicines too, eventually.
Okay. Yeah. So what kind of successes have you had with that? Because I would imagine that Nigeria still imports starch, they still import cellulose, and it's an area that I have started also focusing on, because I mean, even here we do the same. So what were your early successes then, and why is it that did you actually manage to commercialize stuff at scale to stop these imports?
Wouldn't it be nice to just say yes, yes, yes?
Yeah.
Especially when you spent 40 years in this and you just wished that you could say yes to this. Success, the first thing is, at least I'm part of that first generation of Nigerian pharmaceutical scientists that will say we can use our locally sourced materials as pharmaceutical excipients, as the inactives. We can say that. Maybe it looks small now, but that was a major step that we took. Again, I was also one of those people who now asked myself, okay, so we know, then what? And we tried to scale up the laboratory processes that we used to get the pharmaceutical grade. And that was one of those things that the National Institute for Pharmaceutical Research and Development was set up for, to provide that bridging research between the bench, as we have them in the universities for academic purposes, and the industry, so that it could become applicable. So we tried to do a pilot plant to produce these things. So again, coming up with that slight scale up beyond what my friends and colleagues who are purely for teaching and research did is also another achievement that made one very happy. But unfortunately, like you have observed, we are still importing for many reasons. If you want us to go into that discussion, I have a number of hypotheses that I believe have caused that. But the truth is that in spite of our best efforts, we are still importing. The technology is there. It's definitely not an issue of technology. It's not an issue of proof of concepts. There are more, I think it's more of business issues and scaling and competing with cheap imports that is causing the challenge right now.
So there are some policy issues. Okay, so so this is end of part one, Prof Kunle. And for those of you that are watching, follow us on socials. And what we will then do is turn to part two, where we will discuss what I think you said here, that medicines work like magic. So, and you really wanted to get into this and become a magician in that way. Okay.